We'll be swearing in the cabinet on Wednesday at 2 o'clock at Government House. We will be calling the House back for August the 25th, and the new budget will be tabled on September the 1st.
Why have you decided to come back in August?
Well, because we have interim supply that we have to deal with. We do have to table a new budget. It'll pretty much resemble the February budget in terms of spending and protecting the services like health and education. But it's important that we get that done on the table, and that's why we're going to swear the cabinet in on Wednesday.
What about the deficit?
Well, I think we're aiming to try and accomplish the deficit that we set for ourselves. I think a lot of people didn't notice in February. There's $1.9 billion in savings that we're striving to accomplish. That will be discretionary spending. It will be some program changes. All of those things are going to require a lot of work. We've all seen real volatility in the markets. We've seen some of our commodity prices move up. We've seen a bit of a run in the stock market over the last month, one of the most successful or the fastest growing stock markets we've seen in over 25 years. So we're obviously living in a very volatile time, but we set a very, I think, strategic and difficult challenge for ourselves in February. The first one is to protect health and education services. We intend to do that. We also want to look at ways that we can increase revenues by improving the economy and moving a whole bunch of things forward together. That's why we have to get back to work in terms of the new cabinet ministers. We've been working on this now for 5 months, so there's lots of work to be done, but as you know, the world is changing pretty dramatically.
So is 400
changes in your cabinet shuffle?
Well, the cabinet will be announced on Wednesday at 2 o'clock. You'll all define it as you want to define it.
What are you looking for, though, as you shape the team to move?
I'll be looking forward to answering questions and then taking the second question. The first answer is, obviously we have 49 new members of the legislature. I've had a chance to interview with all of them. My goal is to try and make sure that we not just provide stability in terms of our economy as we move forward, but also that we bring some of the new blood and the new ideas forward into our government as we struggle with the challenges that we confront.
Will it be a smaller cabinet, sleeker?
The cabinet will be announced on Wednesday at 2 o'clock.
How does it happen when you have a lot of new members in crisis situation, in recession situation? Does it make it even more challenging?
No, I think the challenge, whenever you try to decide on a cabinet, is to maximize the talents of everyone that's in the caucus. New, old, people that have been here for the first time, they may have been involved in other walks of life that are very applicable to the challenges that we face. It's the single, I think, most difficult challenge you face as a premier. Everybody in that caucus has worked very hard to get us to the point we are. They'd all, I imagine, would like to be in cabinet, and obviously all of them won't be able to be in cabinet. So that's always a challenging personal as well as professional decision.
Premier, just back to the deficit. Is $495 million no longer the maximum for the deficit this year?
We set out, I think, a pretty clear budget plan in February. We're going to continue to pursue that. We've got a lot of work to do with regard to the savings that we identified at that time, $1.9 billion in savings. We've got to keep on pursuing those. We've been moving through that. The staff have been doing that. It's now time for the political leadership, the new cabinet, to go and to look at their ministries and see how they can maximize the benefits. They may find additional benefits. I think what's really important is to note that some of the sort of the easy solutions that people have come up with are not what we're searching for. We're searching for smart solutions that will work in the long term and that will protect future generations. You can't get out of a challenging time simply by borrowing more money when the challenge has been there's too much money that's been borrowed in the past.
So $495 million is not the maximum.
As definitive as you were in the election campaign. You told us then $495 is the absolute maximum. Increasing it will be a debt on future generations. It doesn't seem like you're being put as definitive.
I think that one of the rules that all of us have to do, when the facts change, you have to be willing to look at the facts. We are striving to accomplish the budget that we laid out in February of 2009. There's a lot of work to do between now and September the 1st when that budget is tabled, but we're still striving to do that.
But you knew during the election campaign with stats and CAM reports coming out that the economy was in bad shape. So why did you continue saying that you would have a $495 million deficit?
As I just mentioned, we're continuing to pursue our goals that we laid out for ourselves in the February 2009 budget. Anyone that thinks that they're going to rely on economic forecasts to determine what they're going to do, I think is going to look back at the last year and say that doesn't make very much sense. So when facts change, we have to be willing to change. We're going to protect our health care services. We're going to protect the education services. We're going to continue to look for that $1.9 billion in savings that we identified. That's going to require a lot of work. The staff have done great work over the last little while. The Ministry of Finance will look at a whole range of options for us to do, but the fact of the matter is deficits are taxes on the future, and we have to all be cognizant of that as we go through this.
Have you got an update on the finances? Have you got a sense of how much it has changed since your update since you came back?
Well, Justine, I think one of the problems is that the updates change every day. We had 3 different forecasts last week, which have been quite a bit different than the ones that we have this week. We have seen significant movement in commodity prices over the last, frankly, 10 days. We've seen significant changes in a lot of the economic forecasts. What we have to do is we have to go and look at our budget and say, look, we've said we're going to protect healthcare, we've said we're going to protect education. Where are the ways that we can close these gaps? How do we move forward? And I think, again, I don't want anyone here to underestimate the challenges of finding the $1.9 billion of savings that were estimated in February. We have to continue to go through that. We have to continue to work on that. And you'll see the budget in September the 1st.
But Premier, with due respect, that changes were actually occurring during the election campaign.
Should you have been so certain during the election campaign?
I have always acted on the information that I have available. I still think that we have an opportunity to meet the budget that we laid out for ourselves in February. It's going to take, as I'm saying to you today, a lot of work to do that. There's not one person in this room that will tell you that everything is exactly as it was. Frankly, it's better this week than it was 2 weeks ago. One of the reasons that it takes some time to put together a budget is I want people to see what the choices are. I want them to see how we're acting on the initiatives that we undertook in February. That's going to be critically important as we go through the months ahead.
Premier, this new cabinet of yours is going to be busy.
Are you leaving yourself enough time to get everything done, given that you've only got supply till the end of August, you're coming back the 24th?
Coming back the 25th, and we will obviously have to table interim supply budget.
How long will that session be? Premier, your ministers are going to be pretty busy this summer. This new cabinet isn't going to get any time off, it sounds like.
Well, I think they're going to be very busy, Vaughn. I think, I have not noticed anyone saying that they want to have, a long summer vacation. I hope they get some time with their families, but the fact of the matter is there's a lot of work to do for all of us.
How long will the session be? Back to October, when the meltdown was sort of gaining ground and there was a lot of incredibly serious concern around the world, how would you assess where we are now in June? Is it as bad as you may have expected it was going to get in October, or is it easier a bit, or just what do you think of the last 6 months?
I can tell you, anyone that's lost their job is way worse than any of them expected. And I think the challenge that we have now is to recognize that employment always lags these indicators. So we've been fortunate over the last couple of rounds where we haven't lost. In fact, we gained jobs. I think in the month of April. We're looking to try and make sure that we can keep pushing that. The challenge for us, everyone can say, Canada's way further ahead than any other Western democratic country. That's probably true, but that doesn't help someone who's lost their job in forestry or in mining or in retailing. It doesn't help someone who's feeling uncertain about their future. And one of the things that we have to do is try and create a foundation of certainty and stability for people. That's what I think is critical. It requires all of us to take the time to see what's going on. It requires, frankly, ministers to make a number of challenging choices as they go through their agendas for the next 60 to 90 days. That's all going to be part of what this budget process is.
Premier, the fall session, how long will that be, and will it be just to deal with the budget?
Well, no, there'll be other issues that we'll bring forward in the fall session. I would expect the fall session will go from the end of August to sometime in November.